Bruchim haboim. Welcome everyone. We're about to begin Be'ezras Hashem together on Daf Ayin Hey Amud Beis, 7 lines from the top. The Mishnah identifies 7 malachos regards to meleches ha'oros. Amongst those 2 malachos, the Mishnah now says hamolchoi v'ha'amabdoi, salting and tanning. Ask the Gemara right away, hainu moleach v'hainu ma'abed. That's one of the same. When one salts and one tans, the salting is the beginning of the tanning process. Answers the Gemara, Rabbi Yochanan v'Shlokish da'amrei trovayu, they both said, apik chad meinaihu va'ayil sirtut. Take one of them out, v'hamolchoi, and put in its place sirtut. Sirtut was when they would take the leather, they would take the hides, and before cutting them, they would put thin marks in order to then know how to cut the pieces of hide. And therefore, that's the malacha of sirtut. Says the Gemara, Marabe barav huna hayman de molach bisra chaye mishum ma'abed. If a person salts meat on Shabbos, he's chaye for ma'abed, for tanning. Rava Amar ein ibud ba'oichlin. Rava argues that there's no such thing as tanning when it comes to food. Omar Rav Ashi v'afilu Rabba Rav Huna bar Rav Huna loy Omar ela de kaboy leila orcha. Even Rabbi Rav Huna, who does say there's tanning when it comes to meat, he's only talking about when a person is traveling, whereby he has to then put a lot of salt in order to preserve the meat. Aval lebeisa loy mashvei inish michlei eitz. But when a person's in his own house, he's not going to put so much salt to make it inedible like a piece of eitz of wood. The Gemara now quotes the Mishnah as bringing 2 more malachos. V'amemachkoi v'amechatechoi. One who smooths out and cuts to size. Says the Gemara, Amar Rabbi Acha bar Chanina, hashof bein ha'amudim b'Shabbos chayiv mishum machik. One who shof bein ha'amudim, between the pillars on Shabbos, is chayiv because of the malacha of memachik. Take a look at Tosfos in Dibra HaMaschil, hashof bein ha'amudim b'Shabbos chayiv, the 3rd line from the top on Tosfos. Pirush Rabbeinu Chananel, he brings Rabbeinu Chananel, who says the shaf ha'or al ha'amud kedei lahachlikoi. We're talking about over here where a person puts hides and he hangs them on the pillars and he then smooths them out. That itself is going to be the malacha of memachik. V'chein mashma Yushalmi, and that's the mashmos of the Gemara in Yushalmi as well. Rashi pirash shof karkois shebein ha'amudei chalonois. Rashi learns that between the amudim that are holding up the roof, one smooths out the ground in between those pillars. That's going to be the malacha memachek. V'lo nira, says Tosfos, is not clear. Doesn't seem to be this is the malacha we're talking about memachek. And presumably Tosfos is coming to ask if a person would smooth out the ground. It depends on where it is. If it's going to be in a place where it's a field, we said it's charisha. And if it's a place where a person has a house, it's a malacha of boineh. So therefore, memachik doesn't present itself over here. Rather, says Tosfos, the perush is like Rabbeinu Chanan on the Yushalmi, that he puts a hide against the pillar and is meshashef. He's smoothing that out. That's the malacha of memachik. Says the Gemara weiter, Omer Rabbi Chia bar Abba, Gimel Dvarim Sachli Rav Ashi Mishmei Rabbi Yoshu ben Levi. There are 3 things that Rav Ashi said in the name of Rav Yoshua ben Levi as follows. Hamegare Roshe Kloinsois B'Shabbos Chay Mishum Mechatech. If a person is going to then sharpen poles and cut them to size, they are being over the Iser Deraisa of Mechatech, cutting to size. Hamemareach Retia B'Shabbos Chay Mishum Memachek. A person who spreads out a bandage that has cream, medicinal cream, and smooths them out on the skin, he's going to be chayiv for the malacha of memachik. V'amesates is ha'even, and somebody who chisels a stone in order to then make the finishing touches. B'Shabbos chai mishum makeh bepatish, because that's the gemar malacha. Amar Rabbi Shimon ben Kitma, Amar Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish, Hatzar tzura bekli, if a person engraves an image on a kli, that means the kli is already finished, but he now wants to engrave an image to make finishing touches to beautify the kli. V'hamenapeach bekli zechuchis, and one who blows glass to formulate the type of kli that he's making. Chayim mishum makeh bepatish, because this is considered to be a gemar malacha, which is the isser of makeh bepatish. Amar Rabbi Yehuda Hayman de shokel akufe miglime. Chayim mishum makeh bepatish. If a person has some threads that are sticking out from his garment, and he then takes those threads and he takes them out of the garment, so he's chayim mishum makeh bepatish v'hani mili de kapid, because he's makbid on these threads, so therefore it's finishing up the garment. The garment is not complete because those threads are sticking out, and when he removes those threads that are superfluous, it's considered to be the malacha of makeh bepatish. The Gemara now brings the last of the 8 malachas that are listed in the Mishnah, and amongst them the beginning is hakosev shtei oisiyos, and a person writes 2 oisiyos. In the Mishkan they would write an ois on one beam and another ois on an adjacent beam, so that when they would then take them apart and then re-put them back, they would know which ones were next to each other. Says the Gemara to explain, Tonu Rabbanan bringing the following brisa: Kosav ois achas gedoyla. If a person were to write a large letter, v'yesh b'mekoymo lichtov shtayim potter, even though there's a place to then write 2 letters, he's not going to be chayiv, he's going to be potter aval osir, because you have to write 2 letters. The Gemara now brings the brisa that says mochak ois gedoyla. However, if he were to erase a large letter, v'yesh b'mekoymo lichtov shtayim chayiv, but if that large letter after erasing would have enough room to write 2 letters, then he would be chayiv, because since mechika is almanas lichtov and the kesiva is 2 letters, so the mechika of being moichek, erasing a space that will enable the size of 2 letters, that's going to be the malacha of mechika. Amar Menachem Rabbi Yossi, he comments the following: V'zeh chomer b'moichek b'mikosev. This is the chumrah of erasing over the malacha of kesiva. The Gemara now quotes Haboine v'hasoiser v'hamake v'hamechabe v'hamavir v'hamake bepatish. One who building and demolishing, igniting a flame or extinguishing a flame, and finally hamake bepatish. Comments the Gemara, Rabbi Zera, the Amri Tavai, they say the following: Komidi di'is be gemar malacha chay mishum mak bepatish. They said a klal, that the principle is anything that's considered to be a gemar malacha, which you've already seen. In general, the klal is if it's a gemar malacha, then it fits into the category of the malacha of makeh bepatish, and it's chayv a korban chatos. The end of the Mishnah says Eilu avos malachos. These are the avos malachos, which seems to be superfluous, because after all, we already said that there are 39 malachos, and we even listed each of the malachos. So why does the Mishnah conclude and say Eilu avos malachos? Ask the Gemara, Eilu lapuke, what does it come to exclude? Says the Gemara, Eilu lapuke mid Rabbi Eliezer. This comes to exclude the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer. For Rabbi Eliezer holds that even though our Mishnah makes a point of saying these are 39 malachas that a person can have a maximum amount of malacha of a chiyuv chatos for, that means that for every av malacha, no matter how many toldos he performs, he'll be chayiv a maximum of 39 chatos. So Rabbi Eliezer argues and says he's going to be chayiv for every av malacha as well as every toldo, as follows: the mechayiv al toldo b'makom av, and therefore our Mishnah is Eilu avos malachos. These are the Avos Malachos. These and only these will mechayev the korban chatos, a maximum of 39 chatos. The Mishnah concludes, Eilu Avos Malachos arboim choser achas. Says the Gemara, why is the Mishnah emphasize there are 39 malachos? Explains the Gemara, La Pukim with Rabbi Yehuda, to explain the sheet of Rabbi Yehuda, who says there are more than 39 malachos, as follows. The Tanya, it says in the Brayso, Rabbi Yehuda moisif es hashoivet v'hamedaktik. In regards to the weaving process, Rabbi Yehuda adds 2 additional malachos. Hashoivet v'hamedaktik. Hashoivet is taking a stick and making sure that the threads of the horizontal threads of the chassis that have become entangled, become disentangled. So he takes a rod and he then makes it so that they're then horizontal once again. V'hamedaktik is a malacha where you take the rod and you hit the chassis strings so that it doesn't become too, the strings in general, after they've been threaded, they shouldn't become too tight. And therefore to help the weaving process. Omuloi, the Chacham said to Rabbi Yehuda, Shoivet harehu bechlal mesech, including the malach of mesech, which is preparing and setting up the chassis strings, that is included including in the malacha of hashoivet, is including a mesech. That is what you're doing. You're preparing the horizontal strings. So even if they become disentangled, you're then causing them to become straight once again. That's included in mesech. Medaktek harehu bechlal oreg, and the malacha that you taina is a malach of hamedaktek, by hitting down the strings that are on the loom after they've been woven. That's included in oireg. That's the malacha of weaving. So therefore, we're left with 39 malachas specifically, and not more.